Welcome back to the Real Power Podcast. I am pumped for the guest that we have in the studio today. We got Mr. Anthony Valerio. I'm sure you see Four Winds Chimney all over Rochester, New York. I just saw one of their trucks on 590. He's doing huge things here in Rochester and now expanding into central New York as well. Very exciting stuff. Give you a quick background on Anthony, owner of Four Winds Chimney, a chimney and fireplace restoration, repair, and cleaning company located here in Rochester, New York. Started his company back in 2018 out of his garage, has grown it to over 40 employees and 11 million in annual revenue. I think that this episode is going to be extremely valuable for so many young entrepreneurs, especially those looking to get into the trades, some sort of service-based business similar to what Anthony's doing. So I'm excited selfishly to pick his brain and learn about his journey and what he's learned along the way. I won't waste any more time here. Without further ado, Anthony, thank you for being here, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Cam.
Take us back to the beginning of your journey. I know you said 2018 is when the company started out of your garage.
Yep.
Give our audience the rundown.
I'm a fourth generation Mason, so I grew up in a masonry. We always focused on chimneys, but masonry family, like that's where I learned from, more towards the Finger Lakes. So that was, first job at an illegal working age of 12. And
12 years old?
Not by choice, but it was after school, weekends, during breaks.
Yeah.
I worked with the family for years, and then on and off. I would pick up different jobs, different trades. Moved to Rochester probably about 12-ish years ago. Kept working for family for a little bit. Ended up switching it up, went to work for a company here. So like the big moment was I was working for this company, doing chimney work, masonry work. Fell off a roof. That's what I was kind of talking about earlier.
That's how you broke your leg?
Yeah. And it was a good one too. So the left leg was 30 pins, 2 feet of plates. And, and the bigger thing was it was my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. I got to get that right. Girlfriend at the time had breast cancer and had a double mastectomy scheduled 5 days before I broke my leg. And so I went from like this spot of like where I'm going to be the caretaker to nothing. And then the job I had like wasn't on the books. Like it just wasn't a good job. You weren't going to build like a life off of something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I was laid up just as much as she was. I mean, she had it worse with what she's going through. She's definitely beat it since then. And that was like the moment when I was on the couch. She was on the other couch. And I'm like, I'll never go through this again personally, put myself, family through it, future family, and definitely never put any kind of employee through that either. Mm. Shortly after, about a year later, a little less, is when I started Four Winds. And the rest has kind of been history from there. We've grown quick, but grown clean too. It's been clean growth. And
that's an amazing story. So take us back to those early days in your garage, right? I mean, did you even have a vision of where you would be 6 years later, what this would look like?
Not quite to the size now, but I knew I wanted it.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted it. And like in the beginning then, like the best fuel for me was like people telling me I couldn't do it. We expanded to Syracuse and driving home from Syracuse, and I'm like, man, I feel like I just need someone to tell me I can't do this here. But yeah, so I was out of my garage. I ended up picking up an employee shortly after. That stuck with me for a while. It was temporary for him. And it was a lot of, the first 3-4 years at least were definitely like a 6, mostly 7 day a week grind, 14, 16-hour days. And then over time, I'd add employees, and I was grateful that I had like a lot of people that were willing to put that grind in as well. But they were also buying into like the dream that I wanted for the company.
The vision.
Yeah, they bought in, like they just did. And they'll say it too, like everything you promised has come true. And result of like, of course, like having a vision, but a team to drive that forward too. And over the years, it's gotten better and better. Now no one's working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. So
yeah, that's incredible. It's got to feel so good, like knowing that the people around you believed in you, and then you were able to follow through for them.
Yeah, huge. I never took that lightly. Like, never took like somebody granted they're getting paid for it, but they're still giving you time, which is something nobody ever gets back. And I just never took that lightly. And I think that's been one of the key factors of appreciating that has allowed us to grow to where we
Can you just give the audience a quick rundown? I know I briefly said what the company does, but your services and what Four Winds Chimney mainly does?
Yeah, so everything chimney fireplace related. On the basic level, it's like your standard chimney sweep and inspection. That's like the base level. From there, it'll go up to, gas and wood appliances. So gas fireplace, wood stove, we install those. Electric fireplaces, of course. Everything from repairing, rebuilding, and relining existing chimneys to building just brand new as well. That's really the focus. Everything chimney and fireplace related. Also ties into a lot, which a lot of people don't think of, is a lot of homes don't have fireplaces, but they still have chimneys that service their heating and air equipment. That's where like the relationship with Isaac came into play for me. So like we do all of Isaac Heating and Air's chimney liner work. So a lot of our business too is just that alone. It's servicing chimneys, repairing them that just service like natural gas appliances, oil, anything like that, propane.
Got it. Yep. So you talked about in the form you filled out for me, you focus on going a mile deep instead of a mile wide. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And I love that phrase. Can you explain for the audience what you mean by that?
Yeah. And I also wish I could take credit for that. But like most things, I heard it and it clicked.
And that, yeah.
Our thing, like a different way I used to say that in the beginning was like people over profit, and not the sense of like where I made foolish decisions, financial decisions with a business that would never did that, but like I focused on like the people there first. That was easy for me to do. Like I wanted people to succeed. I wanted to provide opportunity. I wanted like a place where people could have a career at, where you're paying career wages, benefit package, training opportunities, and just a culture where they feel supported. So that's what we focused on. So, and I think that's what made us go the mile wide very easily. But it was first like focus on the people, focus on the training, the education, the appreciation that you can show employees, just focus on building a solid team. And then I feel like that took care of so many road bumps for me, like where some businesses have to insert like so many systems and processes to like remedy not bad behavior, but bad practices. Like, of course, we've had to do that, but not to any large extent, because the people that work at Four Winds just believe in our mission, vision, core values. Like, we pound those home. We live them day in and day out. We hold each other accountable to them. So it makes the work side of it, on the management side, relatively easy.
Did you have that mission, that vision, those core values established early on, or when did that start for you?
That's a good question, and something I've learned too recently is that should be ever evolving. So in the beginning, it was much more basic, and I had like 11 core values, which people just won't remember.
We've got 7 right now.
Yeah, 3 and 4 is like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And the test is like a year later, can people spout them off?
That's a good test.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's, again, something I've learned recently. Our biggest one in the beginning was goodwill above all else. Everybody knew that. And that was to each other as coworkers, to the customers that we service. When you're out in the community, hold yourselves to a high standard. If you were going in a gas station to buy a drink and had Four Winds on a shirt on your back or not, it was just treat people right and do it for the right reason. It was that simple. And it was on the jobs that we did. You just do the right thing for the customer. I mean, that's it. What would you do if it was your house? And it's changed since then. We held this 2-day meeting the beginning of this year, and we came up with like new core values that the team created, new mission, vision. The biggest one was the mission statement, craftsmanship that ignites new expectations.
Oh, I like that.
I loved it, man.
Yeah.
And I had nothing to do with it. That was the cool thing. It was team driven. And I just got to like sit back. I threw my 2 cents in, but like it was created by the people that.
It's amazing.
Yeah, loved it. So.
Yeah. The other reason I ask is because I never, starting the business by myself, really sat down to think about it until I did have a team around me that we could all collaborate and figure out what we really are and what we stand for. And same thing, like I kind of made the skeleton of like, this is kind of what we want to do, but they filled in exactly like what the values are, exactly what Real 3D does. So I think it's just so important to make sure that the team around you is helping you build that vision with you.
Right on, 100%. The one thing I loved about ours too is like the one I held on to is the goodwill part. Like that was always a big one for me. And again, kind of being like a fly on the wall when we created the new set, like goodwill still made the list.
Nice.
And I was pretty grateful for that.
Yeah, so. That's a good one. Let's bring it back down to earth here for the young entrepreneurs watching, and talk about those early days, getting those first couple clients and getting traction. If you can kind of go back in your memory and try to remember like what you did to get those first clients and really get traction going for your business.
What's cool is I just found it's either the first or second estimate I ever wrote.
Yeah.
And we framed it too.
Love that.
It was back when we were, carbon copy stuff. So, yeah, I mean, for the big thing I did and have always done too was like when I had the right money for it, I marketed right. In the beginning, all I could afford was like the local town crier kind of papers, like the small ones. It was like 15 or 30 or 45 bucks a week. So that was like a big source of lead generation for me then. Facing the customer, like just go out to a job and I just always try to be genuine. Like that was it. Like I try not to give people some smoke show, like just try to build a relationship. That's a big thing that I did and that we do now is try to build relationships with the customer. Hear exactly what they want, issues that they've had before, and try to meet them there and build an estimate or build a solution that works for them. So that was kind of it for the beginning. That was my lead source, was the local papers. Of course, like your online stuff, just having like a Google listing then was big. No real money towards ads in the very beginning.
Yep.
And then just relied a lot on word of mouth then too. My Uncle Mike, who I learned from, who recently passed, he was like the biggest mentor I had in my life. And he was like that, just great at building relationships with customers and genuine too. Like he wanted to help people and he loved his craft. And I was grateful, I am grateful like that I learned that from him because it made it simple for me in the beginning.
Yeah, when you're genuine and amazing at what you do, you're pretty much unstoppable in the beginning. And same here, man. Like when I started my business, I, first of all, knew nothing about cameras, like zero camera experience, learned everything on YouTube and online courses. And the reason I was able to get traction and get going is because I just cared so much about the people that I was doing business with, and it didn't matter what I was doing for them. I would just make sure I was, building rapport and talking with them on site and asking them how their day's going and all that little stuff. And I think it's so important as entrepreneurs because my whole team, it's funny, my whole team, only one of them has prior camera experience. The rest of them were all self-taught. And I only wanted to surround myself with great people that fit our culture, that our clients loved. And what's amazing is my brother was my first hire. He dropped out of college for me, which is, I just love telling that story. Whole family intervention, but now mom and dad see that we're doing good. And he is one of the most talented videographers I can confidently say in like all of New York State. Like he is that good. He's taking our brand to new levels that I could never do the things he's doing. And to see him be so passionate about a craft that I was able to give him the opportunity to actually dive into it. He was going for accounting, was going to probably get some boring desk job. And now to see him crushing it is so fulfilling, not even as an owner of a business, but just as a big brother, like knowing that he's found his thing. But it just goes to show like any skill can be trained. Anything can be trained. And as long as you find the right people who want to learn, right? That's the biggest thing. Have a mentality where willing to learn. It doesn't matter what business you're in. You can grow anything.
100%. I love that you did that. We do that as well. And I said it too in the beginning, similar to you, like there were probably countless other companies that were probably better masons than I was. I mean, I'm a good mason, great at some of it, you know what I mean? Just because I've learned from families, like stone is always a big thing, but there's definitely better ones out there. There's true masters at it.
There's better photographers out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, but like it's the relationship part. And, you know, there's so many different companies that can supply the service, like just so many, but it's the relationship that you form with the customer and that your word counts. And,
Yes.
but same thing, I'd made the mistake in the beginning of hiring on skill set, like have to have this for experience, this and that for experience. I learned like that it could work. It wasn't like the norm though. Like when I looked at the pool of people that were working out really well was, you know, one of my top managers right now came from being a pizza restaurant manager. One of my top lead technicians was a dishwasher before he started with me. Common thing is like drive. They treat people right. They care about what they do. Everything else is trainable.
That's it right there. Yeah. So where does the majority of your business come from these days? Is it still very heavy word of mouth? Are you guys doing paid ads now? Like what's the marketing look like for you guys?
Yeah. Word of mouth is still a great one. That's of course like the best form of like compound marketing that you could do. To the size we're at, it comes a little bit harder to keep busy that way alone. But still it's a good one that I'm always grateful for. I'd say the big ones for us are TV and Google are big. I've been doing TV commercials for I think I'm in my 4th or 5th year now of it. We run those 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Typically, Google outperforms TV. So on Google, it's Google Ads, pay-per-click, all that SEO.
Yep.
Typically, Google outperforms TV like 2-to-1. It's been a little bit different this year. It's been more like neck and neck. But those are the big ones for us. Google, any kind of online stuff like that, and then TV. Do a fair amount on social media as well.
Yep.
We definitely do the social media aspect much less for lead generation. And really, it's just like a platform that we could showcase who we are.
Brand building.
Yeah, yeah. People want to know who's coming to their house, what the company's about, and that's what social media is for. We hire a lot through social media. It's a big stream for us with employment. Do billboard as well, and same thing. Billboard acts as like a branding tool. There's like the marketing dollars that we spend that you can and want to track. So like TV is one, even though that's kind of like hybrid, but TV is one. Google, like we want to know those numbers. We can track those numbers easily. Beyond that, like billboard, social media, I don't really track that much. We do, but it's never like, oh, this only brought in X amount this month. It doesn't work like that.
And it's tough because we're getting into like content and stuff, and it's a hard service unless the client truly knows how it works, because everyone does want those metrics and numbers and see like, where are my dollars going? And sometimes you don't see it until years down the line, but the payoff 100%. Can be so much bigger because your brand and your reputation is out there. So I love that you guys are investing in that. The TV stuff is interesting. So just with attention being so much on social media these days, you would think, you'd be better off spending those on paid ads on social media, but you're finding a lot of ROI on TV commercials still?
Huge. Yeah. Huge. I think it all works in like a branding. It's not like with chimneys, the good and bad thing is like nobody ever has like their chimney dream in mind. It's not like a deck or a kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, no one saves for their chimney budget really. And so the part that I always try to stay ahead of is the constant branding, constantly getting our name out there, because then when the problem does arise, like I want to be the first one then. Yeah, TV does well. I mean, our big demographic that we service is anywhere from like 45, 65 and up. Usually where we do well is like when people have worked with other contractors in the past that they haven't had a good experience with. So that comes with like length of time of owning a home. You make mistakes on who you hire. I have made that mistake plenty of times. And then a company comes in where you could see like the structure, their presentation, their follow through is like what you want. Reliability, communication is good. The genuineness is there. And that's typically what we see with like the TV demographic is that. So
yeah, that makes sense. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's, a lot of people on social media might, be a younger generation who doesn't even own homes yet.
Yeah.
So like your ideal client is likely still watching TV, the older generation, and makes sense.
Yeah, I would almost cut like Google spending out sometimes.
Wow.
I wouldn't, but TV is like a big one.
Are you on the commercials? Is it your face?
I do both.
Yeah.
So like it's me, but the team is usually always showcased too in some form. And it depends. Like I switch it up, and there's been some that I run that I'm not on there. And,
yeah.
Lately, this year, it seems like I've been doing most of them. A lot of the social media advertising, the videos there is mostly team.
Yeah.
Large amount of that is team.
Yeah. Does Jimmy do both the TV and the social media stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Jimmy with Optimum Influence, we've been with him about 3 years now, and he's just dialed in.
He is so dialed. Shout out to you, Jimmy.
That's right.
His episode was awesome, and he's building an incredible business for himself.
Yeah,
so.
Same thing. He cares, right? He's hungry in his own business. Those are like traits I look for in the people I do business with. Hungry for his own business, cares about his reputation, and wants to do right by the client.
Hell yeah.
It's simple.
Right on.
There's no special equations. It's those.
So you've been able to grow a company to 40 plus employees. What have you learned about leadership?
Yeah, it's a good one too. Always changing. Something I think like as a leader, and it takes a minute too. Like it took me a minute to like feel comfortable like calling myself that.
Yeah.
I think because I always identified so much with like just doing the work
In the trenches. Like,
yeah. And then like with anything, you realize your strengths and like, so in a non-ego way, like I recognize like I had the ability, as do plenty of others, to like lead a group of people to doing something good. I've always tried to like, my network of people, like I've always tried to surround myself with solid leaders. We were talking about Ray Isaac earlier. He was someone I looked up to, like always striving for, still do look up to in a big way. But it's something I've always tried to like improve upon. And I've learned like you'll go through like ebbs and flow of it. Like sometime you're like you're on point, confident in what you're doing. And then for no good reason, like I just went through this like 3-week stint where I'm just like feeling down, feeling like I lost my touch a little bit. And then like the right song comes on the radio and it all clicks back. So, but yeah, and I think it's just something that should always be worked on. Majority of the traveling I do now is to like different conferences and trainings based on leadership. And, and with that, especially at this point, like 98% of it is stuff I've heard before, but I'm always on the eye. And someone told me this in the beginning. It's like the conversation that you have with someone, the little thing that you hear while someone's speaking, it's like those are the gold nuggets you get.
Yeah.
So if I could pick apart 2% of something I just spent time with, but it has a huge effect on me as a person, which translates to the company as well and the people there. So I always try to chase that. That's a big one. And big thing too that I think a lot of leaders should be responsible for is creating leaders around them as well. And I have been fortunate that I have a solid group of leaders at Four Winds. And that's like we were talking about earlier. That's legacy stuff. Like that's when you can see the ripple effect of the things that you're doing. And so I take a lot of pride in that, and I enjoy that a lot. Like finding leaders from within at any level, and building them up too.
100%.
I think that's a big responsibility for any leader out there to like build others up.
It is. I love that you said that because I'm kind of in that right now. And even just being a smaller company, we've got a team of 7, and I'm already seeing my brother and Carter on our team, like they're almost steering the ship without me sometimes. And that's so cool to see.
Yeah.
As a leader. And my eventual goal actually with this business at least is to phase myself out of it, have them be running the company and be able to grow it without me so I can really go hard on this. But you can't grow anything special without people around you that can do it with you.
100%.
So leadership itself is a skill. Building leaders underneath you is another skill.
Right on.
And if you have both of them,
unstoppable.
You're dangerous. Yeah, you're dangerous. Right. Yeah. So love that. I also love the point about how any like gold nuggets can just flick like something in your mind. And I think that's why podcasts are so powerful, because when you listen to like a raw conversation with two people, all it takes is one like clip of someone that for some reason on that day at that exact moment
it hits.
It hits. Yeah. And something you may have been struggling with for months, finally you figure it out because you see a perspective from another person.
Yep.
And what's funny is sometimes that idea doesn't hit like at one point, but then after certain experiences in your life, it does hit at the right moment.
100%.
So love that you said that. And that's why continual education,
it's huge.
I always say it, like the moment you stop learning is when you stop growing.
100%.
And education outside of traditional college and the modern, and that's a whole nother like discussion that we could sit here hours and talk about. But I learned the most from going out and hunting and discovering stuff for myself so I went to school for engineering, went to RIT, actually commuted back and forth all 5 years. And I always say I learned more in my car listening to podcasts, commuting to my classes than I did sitting in the lecture halls.
That's awesome.
And the power of the internet is unbelievable these days. And I don't think we fully still realize it as a society, like what's happening, the amount of information that can change your life is at your fingertips.
Yep.
And if you just, instead of being like 99% of people who just use social media to hit their dopamine and just scroll all day long, which is fine, like enjoy it. But if you can be the type of person who uses it for educating and growing as a human being in business and personal life, you're going to have an amazing life.
Yeah. I mean, you have so much at your fingertips, at your disposal for that. You could Google search like any way you're feeling, anything that you're stuck on, and you will get like a list of things to help you get through it. Like there is no more excuse to not have the information.
There isn't.
Which makes you accountable. Like, you know, it's different when you could say, oh, I never learned that, or no one ever told me that. You know, then you could remove some accountability for yourself. Not nowadays, like it's hard to make that argument because I could Google anything in 0.5 seconds. So.
Yep. What do you think your superpower is in business? I know we kind of already touched on it with leadership, but what do you think you're really good at?
I think a few things I enjoy doing a lot that I've recognized. One is, you know, we talked about it. So leadership, anything like vision planning. I enjoy a lot. That seems like it resonates really well with me. And not the execution side. I struggle with that at times. Vision, dreaming, looking for ways to improve for other people. And I was never afraid to take risk. Like that was it. For me, it was as simple as like, man, I knew if I did this, like, so when TV started, if I invest this money into TV, that I could lose all this money. In my head, in a simple way to break it down, I just had to tell myself, well, Ant, you can go out and do a chimney rebuild and make up for it. Like, I had to like give myself that assurance of like, but I broke it down that easy. So like when any new opportunity came up, like I always took the risk. Not always, but I was never afraid to. This one speaker I heard was like, be a disruptor. And, you know, there's so many other definitely like respectable businesses out there, ways of doing business, old school, new school, that people think you have to like fall within these norms to do it. And this is how you succeed. And I was just, once I heard that, like, be a disruptor, it hit me like, don't be afraid to step outside of that. And so far, it's like, it's hard to even say like something didn't serve you right, because even if it doesn't pan out, you just learned, I just learned such a valuable lesson in it, which is just as good as it working out. So that was the biggest thing. Like leadership, vision, and just being a disruptor.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, in the mentality of you either win or you learn.
Yeah, win or learn.
There's no losing. Right, there really isn't.
Yeah.
If you have that mentality, because you're going to lose a lot in business, and I'm sure you have many stories across of losing. But I always say you're gonna lose many battles, but if you win the war, that's all that matters.
It's right on. It is so true. Like, I see it with people, and I'm not like saying it in a mean way, but that get so caught up in like, I have to be here, this has to be aligned, and this has to be here in order for me to take this step. And I'm just like, man, take the step. Take the step. Like, a strength is always like being able to adapt quickly, right? I was never really good at organizing some huge strategy. Wasn't my thing. I knew I could adapt quickly to things, though. So I wasn't afraid to take the risk. And that's a big thing as I see is not everyone. I just see people. And again, I get it. I totally get the mindset of like X, Y, and Z have to happen in order for me to do this. I need to see the ROI on this kind of ad, like before I keep it going. Like if you have faith in yourself that you can adapt quickly to whatever challenge comes, it makes taking those risks much easier. So
yeah. I was talking with another previous guest about the ability to adapt is one of the greatest skills as an entrepreneur, because
100%.
every day is different. And if you can't, you're not going into the office. It's not a normal 9-to-5 job, right? Like clients are going to get mad at you. Like things are going to happen. And if you can't adapt on the fly and like the skill of like not letting little problems ruin the rest of your day is so crucial.
Yeah.
So how involved these days are you in the operations of your business? Are you like full-blown CEO role? Like how many hours a week are you dedicating? Are you full 40 hours a week?
No, and that's part of the funk I was kind of in. So as far as like the operation goes, like the daily part of it, really not much anymore. Like almost nothing, not nothing at all. Cause I still go there, right? I love the people there.
Yep.
I think one of my big roles there is to keep culture going, fist bumps in the morning, like being there for the morning meeting, giving people shout outs, kudos. Like I enjoy that side of it a lot. But as far as like the operation goes, like not much anymore. And grateful that I have a solid team of people in the field, all my lead technicians, customer service reps, and managers that do an incredible job at that. Some are better at it than I was, and hands down. Recently, this year, I've hired, which was a big step, a chief operations officer. I had a group of 3 managers before that I was kind of their direct contact for. And I wasn't like great at it. Like, I'm good at it. Like I can do it, but I knew there was somebody better on like the business side of it. And so went on the hunt, worked with JK Executive Strategy, who we were talking about, found a COO, and honestly, like he didn't even make the first round at first. Like there were some requirements I had in there. Like you had to come from a home service company. You had to operate at a multi-million-dollar level. He didn't come from a home service company, so he didn't even make the cut. And then he sent me this email that was like, that just hit.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, all right, let's just send him right back through.
That's awesome.
And it's on paper, there were ones that on like their resume that were perfect skill-wise for what I was looking for. Perfect. Home service company. Just everything on the resume was perfect. The guy that I hired, DC, is his name, Dave, DC. Not having the home service experience, but coming from a pretty incredible background, but was the right person. Like I knew that. I could see it in him. And the business knowledge is there too with him. But more importantly, like just the right person for it. And so he has really taken and supported everybody there, but specifically the managers, helped them rise to like new levels that I don't know if I could have in that short amount of time. Like it just was never my, I was not the guy to like create a budget.
Sure.
I don't know what that looks like. It's just the truth of it. I would go off of like, wow, bank account looks good. All right, we could buy this, we could buy that, we could buy a new vehicle for the company. But he has just came in and has done an incredible job at like supporting the managers. There's a ripple effect on how that affects everybody there. And he's really taken like that direct contact away from me in a way.
Yeah.
It kind of messes you up though a little bit. Like,
yeah,
you realize like you're not the go-to anymore. Yeah. Yep. And as 5 years ago, if you would have asked me that, I'm like, oh, it's like a dream position. When it's happening, it doesn't quite feel that way. So
when did he come in? Like recently, right?
Yeah, he's been about four months.
4 months, so. Okay.
And even before then, my managers rocked, man. So like the daily operation, I still didn't have. They made just good decisions. They made good decisions. He's helped take us to a different level. I'm still plugged in enough. I'm still. I know the pulse of it. The people like still plugged in enough. Still guide the ship. Help guide the ship. But they just do an incredible job at it.
It's so cool that the person you ended up hiring didn't have the qualifications, and it goes to show like be persistent.
Yes. Yeah.
Like he took a risk and he got out of his comfort zone, and it paid off because of that. So like there's no no's in the world. You know what I mean? Like no is just not right now.
Yep.
And everybody is scared of rejection. And the ones who can just get over it and be persistent and keep trying are the ones who always end up winning.
100%.
So like, good for him for trying.
Agreed.
And he must have written a hell of an email to you.
Yeah, just like he took the time to go through our social media stuff, like early stuff in the beginning where we were talking about core values, and he was just like, this is where I want to work. This aligns with what I want. Like the impact you guys have on your community, it's what I want to do. And there was much more to the email too, but it just hit me of like, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Of course, at that level, you also have to include skill set in it too, but personality, the person is huge. Like, so it's the same concept as that. And he is just proven like he's just the right person. He's the right leader, treats people right, wants people to succeed, believes in the goodwill aspect, like just the right leader.
Love it. Let's talk about mindset, because as an entrepreneur, I believe that it's one of the most important things that you need to focus on. Building a business, starting a business, it's hard. You're going to be different than people, and you have to be able to deal with the stresses that come along with entrepreneurship. What do you do in your own life, morning routines, habits, that to cultivate that strong mindset to be able to ride the waves of business and keep yourself sane?
Yeah, also something that I think is always changing too. So, the gym is a big one for me. That's right. It's big. It's not even like the physical fitness side, but just the outlet. It's just huge. And then sometimes you get reminded of just how important it is to have something like that. Running, I'm sure, could do the same thing for people, but any kind of physical routine, physical exercise.
Movement. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's just right on. So that's a big one for me. I've made that like a must do in my schedule. Like that one does not get changed for me. I might personally like go through waves where I go a little less like during the week, but I really try not to. And because it's very obvious to me when I'm like consistent with that, how I'm dealing with everything else.
It flows right into your business, right?
Yeah. Cold plunge.
Just started.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's hard, man.
It is, but it's rewarding. And it's, you hear people talk about it, and then it's just like, it works. Like you're putting your body through something challenging, and it makes the challenges that come up a little more tolerable.
How often do you do it?
Like 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah, so. I'm the same right now. I was doing it post workout, and then learned that it's not great for hypertrophy.
Yes.
So I do it. I usually do 4 to 5 days of lifting, and then I do 2 to 3 days of cardio and cold plunging.
Yeah.
That's kind of my split right now.
If I was like perfect routine with it, I'd probably do it every day.
Oh yeah.
I just think it's just nothing but good.
How long do you stay in there for?
I could stay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've done 2.5 minutes, so I'm trying to work my way up there.
Yeah. I've like pushed myself like as far as 10 minutes.
Jeez,
And,
man.
now the one I use it's called the pod. And so it's not like where I'm dumping a bunch of ice in there. Really, there's ice blocks that you could put in there.
Okay.
So I think you could go colder. It's still plenty cold. I mean, and then trying to move while you're in there adds like a whole nother level of difficulty to it. And a buddy of mine, Dave Jocklin, is the one that put me on to that. And yeah, those, I've tried. I definitely have like a business coach that I see, which helps with a lot. He's helped me the last few weeks, kind of with the funk I fell in. And music's a big one for me.
What do you listen to?
Almost every genre you could think of.
Oh yeah?
So
Depends on your mood?
it does.
Yeah.
It depends on like how I'm feeling, how I want to feel, like what I'm working towards feeling, like what I'm going into. Like if I have a meeting where I have to like come down hard on some things, I'll play like some 90s rap.
Let's go.
Like if I'm like loving life on top of the world, I'll blast like country rock.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm trying to calm down, it'll be like reggae kind of music. It just goes all across the board.
That's how I am too.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things. I wish I could say it was like, I will listen to podcasts. I will do audible books. I'm not like great at staying consistent with it, but music is just a big one for me. It can really, the lyrics of the song, the beat of the song can really just totally affect my mindset. And I rely heavily on that. Your network, your friends that you surround yourself with are a big one for me. People that can identify with struggles that you might go through, victories that you achieve that'll celebrate with you. That's also a pretty big one for me as well. And, I have friends, of course, that's part of my network. I'm also just in a couple mastermind groups as well. They help a lot. But that's a big one. I think everything I said is probably the things that I rely on the most.
Yeah, those are great. And masterminds too. I'm in the same groups and of agency owners similar to mine across the country, and
nice. There
is nothing that I would recommend more as someone starting in whatever industry. Find your group of people.
Yeah.
Get in, and the beauty of the internet, you don't have to be in person with them. It can all be over social media, online. And the moment I invested, because I pay a good amount monthly to be in these mastermind groups, but I just add it to the P&L. It's an expense for the education of our company, and my team is in the mastermind with the other people, and we're learning together.
Nice.
So you don't have to do it alone these days. And for the first couple of years of my business, I was just grinding, trying to figure everything out. Like YouTube's great, like free education is great, but if you can find people who have the blueprint for you, why not pay for that and tap into it?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more with that at all. And same thing, the two that I'm in that you pay to be in. Sometimes I think it's one, you get to help others too, right? You get to share ideas. You of course hear ideas, bounce up back and forth. But then I also think there's a lot of gold in just like the discipline of like that you're involved in something that meets regularly. Like you are
accountability.
You're and internally you're making this investment in yourself. Like even on a subconscious level, I feel like that does really well for your psyche. Like just deliberate things that you do that cost money. Yeah. But you're doing it for your well-being, your company's well-being. Like I think there's like a hidden gem to that we kind of skip over sometimes.
There is. There totally is. Yeah. It's changed my life really.
Awesome.
Love it, man. Those are all good answers. It's funny. One of the guests I asked, like, how do you deal with stuff? He's like, tequila.
Nice.
Like whatever works, man.
Yeah. Everyone's got their thing.
Yeah, cold plunges have been my thing lately, and Just, yeah, the gym for me too, man. Like iron therapy, throwing some weights around for my mental. And I think I'm blessed to, I started working out at a young age, just, being a young teen male and wanting to change my body and look good. But then it quickly turned into, oh, this is for my mental health more than it is physical.
Yeah.
And I feel like my identity is like a person who goes to the gym now. And I feel like in order to stay consistent with it, you have to change your identity to someone who does work out and who does stay active and exercise, because anyone can go on a 30-day challenge, lose a bunch of weight, but that's why so many people lose it and they get it right back, right? Because they don't change their lifestyle and who they are and saying, okay, I'm a person who does go to the gym. I care about my fitness versus I'm just going to, go balls to the walls for 30 days and then just not care.
That's a great point. I think that's right on the money. So I couldn't agree more.
Outside of business, what do you like to do for fun?
Family's a big one. So my wife, Laura, and I got 2 kids, Michael, who's 3, and then my daughter, Evelyn's 5. Spending time with them is huge for me. That's definitely like the yin to the yang.
Yeah.
And, with that, so with anything with them, like we camp a lot, vacations, of course, anything around the house. I mean, they're hooked on like me throwing them in the bed like 100 times over. So, and I love it. I love every minute of it. And so I enjoy that a lot. Other than that, any kind of outdoor activity I've always liked. A fair amount of hunting, and I have a good friend that I do that with. Hunting, camping, said that. I think those are the two big ones. Camping with the family.
Simple man.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how I am too, man. I'm 28, my wife's 27, and not gonna lie, starting to get a little bit of the baby fever, but I don't know, man. My wife and I are trying to really travel a lot these next couple of years. This year we traveled a lot. Next year we want to travel again. I think early 30s we'll start to think about it, but
that's what we did.
It's how old are you?
38, and so my daughter is 5, so we did about the same.
Yeah, right on that track.
Yep.
Yeah, and I definitely want to be a dad for sure, and I'm sure you can attest to, everyone says once you become a parent, your whole mind just shifts to, like, my life is designed to make these kids' lives the best I can.
Yep, and some of the like purest love like you'll ever get from another human. Like, I come home like from work and like they don't care about anything. They just, it's like you are their entire world, and it's so good for the soul to feel that too, and like and nurture that in them, and being able to watch them, like, of course you can like watch them go from crawling to walking, but even just how they interact, the little things that they learn, the words they start to say, the risk they start to take, like it's so awesome. Other than like my daughter, what did I back? I said I wanted to go to bed earlier. It was the other night, and I was like, I think I'm going to cut out early tonight. And my daughter was like, weak sauce.
Weak sauce? Yes. That's what she said?
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Goals for the future, man. Where do you see yourself, your company going in the next couple of years? Like, what's your goal for business, for life?
Yeah, business-wise, expanding. I think we still have more work to do in Rochester, the greater Rochester area. Syracuse is the new market that we're going into. We're just kind of taking what we did in Rochester and planting that in Syracuse. We similar demographic, similar median income, similar market spend. Competition is similar to when I started in Rochester, and so expanding to Syracuse is the big one.
Do you plan on going west too, to Buffalo?
I would. I don't know though. Like when we decided Syracuse, it was Syracuse or Buffalo. Syracuse seemed like the best way to copy and paste what I did here. It kind of changed in Buffalo. Your marketing dollars were more.
Got it.
The area, the demographic wasn't like Rochester. Marketing was like much more expensive too, and not to say it's cheap here, but it's different level there. Syracuse was copy paste.
Yeah.
And I'd like to keep going that way, like Syracuse, Ithaca, Utica, Rome. I think that's the direction that we'll take there.
And do you see yourself keeping it just in upstate New York, or do you want to grow like a big ass company?
Right now, just upstate.
Yeah.
There's also something to be said about being in the Northeast, anyways, with masonry work, with the freeze thaw temperatures that we get. I see it in other chimney companies across the nation that don't really have the same amount of work that we get because they don't have the same climate. So we're moving to a nice facility, probably in quarter one of 2025. It's 25,000 square foot, big place. Gonna have a showroom there.
Nice.
So that's the big goal coming up, getting that renovated. That's kind of what I have my eyes on now. Storm is the other company I own, Storm Basement Waterproofing. I co-own that with a guy named Randy Sperling, who's also a good friend of mine.
Oh, no way. I had Randy on the show. He was one of the first episodes. He is probably one of the most influential business people in Rochester. He has so many connections in the real estate world too.
Yep.
Yeah, Randy's awesome.
Yeah, so him and I started Storm 3 years ago.
And how's that going?
It's going well. It's a little slower growth than I had at Four Winds, but same thing, good, clean growth. And we have a really talented guy there, Dave Crawford, who does an incredible job at being the operations manager. And Randy and I just become like the sounding board for a lot of things. That's one partnership that has gone really well because it's equal. It was equal from the beginning with the investment. It's equal now with the time involved. We have open communication enough around that. And he's one of like my 3 guys that I hang tight with. He's one of them. So I just talked to him this morning. So as I was coming here, family wise, whatever the next move is not sacrifice family time. I made that in the beginning. I won't say it was a mistake because, it paid off. But I am protective of like whatever steps I do take next, that I protect that, because I've never felt more successful until the business has done well, like grateful for that, until I became like successful at like being present at home physically and mentally. Like once that happened, then I felt this like true feeling of success. So I don't ever want to risk that again. So yeah, Four Winds is what I have my sights on, still growing that. Storm, of course, too. I just think we have a lot of opportunity at Four Winds for other people to also grow there. So I'm going to focus on that. I don't want to get crazy with it. Like, of course I'd like to, and, get an idea and run with it. But right now it just feels right that I focus on like the 2, as far as the business goes, 2 big things.
It makes sense. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And things can change. Things can always change. You know what I mean? Yep. I love, focusing on feeling successful when your life is in check in all areas. And I'm such a huge proponent of that. And I can't say that I was a couple of years ago, just wanting to do everything I can to grow a business. And sometimes I think you have to have that mentality to get things going. But,
same here.
But now, in the, later half of my 20s now, I am very cognizant of where I want this to go and pushing really hard for at least a couple more years. And then when my wife and I do decide to have kids, I'm checked out, man.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to miss a moment. I don't want to miss a ball game. Like, that's when I know that I was successful and worked my ass off in my 20s to hopefully have an amazing decade in my 30s.
Hands down. That's right on. And that's right on. You're right on point.
This has been amazing, brother. Thank you so much for doing this. Do you have any, I know you said you're not a huge reader. Is there any book that's had a big impact on your life? Yeah?
Yeah, one. A few.
Okay.
Like, there's been different ones. The one that like hit the most for me, like I do enough on Audible, enough to do damage. So the biggest one was The Power of Broke from Damon John.
Power of Broke.
Oh man, just loved it. It hit right. That one resonated with me.
Okay.
And just like the advantage that you get, like, because when I started Four Winds, I had like, my wife was a co-signer on the truck that I had to get for it. I had $5,000 saved in my name. Like that was the most money I had ever saved up at that time. And so it just hit, like that book hit of like the power broke and the motivation that gives you. And it was a lot about surrounding yourself with the right people too. And that's been one book I've read a few times that I really, really liked.
Okay, haven't heard of that one.
Yeah,
I'll have to check that one out.
Yep.
A lot of people say like Think and Grow Rich. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, good book.
Yep.
Yeah, Millionaire Mindset.
Yep.
Another good one. The 12, I think it's like the 12 Irrefutable Laws of Power.
Yep.
I did the workbook on that. Traction was also a good book.
Oh, yeah. So we just started implementing quarterly
EOS?
meetings.
Awesome.
EOS in our business, yeah. We got our next quarterly meeting next weekend, actually. We're going to an Airbnb, and I bring my leadership team. And
that's awesome.
We're literally going through the book and playing it on a speaker and like mapping out our vision on a whiteboard. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Super valuable, right? Super, super valuable. It's one of those things like where you don't have to reinvent it because it was made for you.
Yep.
There's a workbook with it. I think it's called like What the Heck is EOS?
Okay.
That's like a dumbed down version in a way. The book helps. The workbook is more like the working material of it. Yeah, I think EOS is an awesome tool. When you like know your values, you know where you're aligned, you care enough about the product that you're giving a customer, you care about your people and the culture at work, like once that starts slipping, one of my employees early on said to me, was like, promise me I'll just never become a number here. And that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I feel like at some point in growth, if I 10X, like that could happen. And not saying it would, but I could see where stuff like that can start to happen.
Yeah.
So for me, like I know, like I want the relationship with my staff, you know what I mean? And at some point, like if I see that slipping away, the quality of work that we do is a big one. If I see that slipping away, like I will know that we found our sweet spot.
Yeah.
So
Love that, man.
Yeah.
That's something that would stick with me too. If I heard someone say that to me, I'm like, that's so true. And the same mentality for me. I never want anyone to feel like a number, and I want everyone to feel like they're a part of building something with each other.
Yeah.
So where can people connect with you, connect with your company? If you want to plug your social media, anything you got?
Yeah. Facebook, Instagram are always good ways to check out kind of who we are. So Four Winds Chimney on both platforms, Facebook and social media. Anybody can also reach out directly. So Anthony Valerio is when I'm on there with Facebook, or Anthony Valerio _FWC. I'm always an open book. If anybody ever wants to come by, check out our shop or grab coffee, I always welcome that stuff. Website is fourwindschimney.com, and then email, if anybody can remember, as I say, is anthonyv@fourwindschimney.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Anthony, thank you so much, man. This has been an honor to have you here, and I think this episode is going to pop off. I think a lot of people are going to find this very valuable, and just as a young business owner myself, I see so much of what you're doing, and I'm inspired by it. And I think many other people will be too. So thank you again for being here. And I look forward to continuing to build a relationship. We should grab lunch, grab dinner sometime, and talk shop more.
Deal.
Because really enjoyed this.
Likewise. It's an honor to be here. So thank you very much. It meant a lot that you asked me.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share with a friend if you know an aspiring entrepreneur, someone who knows that they have that spirit inside them, but not really sure what path they want to go down. That's what the show is for, to bring out as many entrepreneurs and hear as many stories as possible to help the younger generation. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me, and we will see you in the next episode. Peace out, guys.